Imagine waking up one morning to find yourself imprisoned without explanation, no charges, no trial, no recourse. This scenario was once all too common, but centuries ago, a powerful legal tool emerged to protect individual liberty, the writ of habeas corpus. The term habeas corpus is Latin for "you shall have the body." It's a legal order requiring that a person detained by authorities be brought before a court to determine if their detention is lawful. This writ allows individuals to challenge unlawful detention, ensuring that no one is held without just cause. The roots of habeas corpus trace back to the Magna Carta of 1215, a charter that limited the king's power and laid the foundation for individual rights. In 1627, during the reign of King Charles I, 5 knights were imprisoned for refusing to pay forced loans. Their case, known as Darnell's case, challenged the king's authority to detain them without trial. The court decision led to the Petition of Rights in 1628, reinforcing the principle that the king was not above the law. The Habeas Corpus Act of 1679 further solidified this right, mandating that judges issue writs promptly and penalizing those who unlawfully detained individuals. When the United States declared independence, the framers of the Constitution recognized the importance of habeas corpus. Article 1, Section 9 states, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it." During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln controversially suspended habeas corpus to suppress dissent. This action led to the landmark case Ex parte Merryman, where Chief Justice Roger Taney ruled that only Congress had the authority to suspend the writ. In contemporary times, habeas corpus has been pivotal in cases involving unlawful detention, such as those at Guantanamo Bay. The 2008 Supreme Court case, Boumediene versus Bush, reaffirmed that detainees have the constitutional right to challenge their detention in U.S. courts. Habeas corpus remains a cornerstone of individual freedom and justice. It ensures that the government cannot imprison individuals arbitrarily, upholding the rule of law. While the writ is a powerful tool, it is not without limitations. In certain circumstances, such as national emergencies, the government may seek to suspend habeas corpus. However, such actions are subject to strict scrutiny and must be justified. In recent years, the application of habeas corpus has been a topic of debate. For instance, in 2025, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, also former governor of South Dakota, controversially claimed that habeas corpus was a presidential tool for removing individuals from the country. This statement was challenged by lawmakers, highlighting ongoing tensions between executive authority and individual rights. Legal scholars emphasize that any suspension of habeas corpus must adhere to constitutional guidelines and be subject to judicial review. Kristi Noem, brain fart, where she completely misinterprets the power of habeas corpus.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Secretary. Secretary Noem, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff recently said that the Trump administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus. Last week you were asked about this, and I want to clarify your position because it's obviously really important to get this right. So Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let
been,
us be clear, though,
it has never been done. It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress. So I have been asking executive branch nominees a simple question over the past few months. If the president orders them to break the law, I've been asking, will you follow the law or follow the order? I want to ask you a more specific question here. If the president tries to suspend habeas corpus and a federal court reverses the president's order, will you comply with the court order and uphold habeas corpus, or will you follow the president's directive?
We are following all federal court orders and are complying with that, as is the president, and every decision that I make as well.
That is obviously not true for anybody who reads the news. There are federal court orders right now, including returning somebody who was deported mistakenly. But to be clear, this is about a fundamental legal right that ensures that we live in a free society instead of a police state that would have a sham legal system like Russia or North Korea. So I'm glad that you have now committed to following court orders. I'm glad you believe in the basic freedom for Americans if ordered to do so by a court. And again, I want just to make clear that it is critically important that even if the president tries to suspend the right of people to know why they've been detained or imprisoned, if a federal court reverses that order, that you will follow that order. And I hope all members of the administration will, because it's obviously critical that some of the people, for instance, who've been deported by mistake, who didn't get due process, be returned in compliance with court orders. So now, let's move on to another issue. International criminal organizations target Americans with sophisticated cyber crime, including elaborate scams that robbed Americans of billions of dollars, with seniors in the United States losing $5 billion to scammers in 2024 alone. As artificial intelligence improves, so does the ability of criminals to deceive and defraud Americans. With this new technology, criminals can impersonate loved ones, develop advanced malware, or make more convincing phishing messages. How is DHS working to identify trends in illegal activity and ensure that new AI systems have safeguards in place to prevent their use in criminal activity?
Yes, we are working extensively through CISA, but in all of our agencies to make sure that we're going after these criminal, nefarious actors. I would say partnering with private industry is critically important so that we have the insight that we need to really understand the tactics that they use and the advancements in software. The AI ability that they have to adjust and to supersede some of our systems is incredible. And so investing in those systems is important, but also having the knowledge and bringing everybody to the table and breaking down the silos between our agencies and our intelligence agencies is important, so we all have the information that we need to get.
Well, and that gets me to one final point and question here, because Senator Peters began to ask about it. There's been recent reporting that indicates that the Chinese government installed remote access to Chinese-made power inverters in the U.S., raising concerns that the Chinese government could try to disable parts of our power grid. And you made a comment following up on Senator Peters' question about the importance of not only working with private industry on this issue, as you would also want to work on AI, but also on working with state and local governments on cybersecurity. And can you just talk to me a little bit about how DHS is partnering with state and local governments right now on cyber?
Well, that's one of the core critical missions of CISA, is to help those state and local governments harden their systems.
Okay, I just want to say that if this idiot ever suspends habeas corpus, if that ever happens, I can tell you that there will be, unfortunately, thing is, you take away the people's rights and the authority goes right out the window. It's all from the same law. Our rights, the authority of government is all from the same document. So you cannot suspend any of our rights without your authority being forfeit. And at that point, the American people would be free to resist and fight. And as far as all this technological security, cybersecurity, there's no way that these idiots can do anything. So I'm not even going to listen to the rest of this tripe. But yeah, Kristi Noem, stupidest person ever with regards to habeas corpus. And one more story. This is Raw News and Politics with the hostess, Gina Bonanno. And she's going to talk to us about a J6er that was recently arrested for home invasion robbery.
And welcome to the show. So another one of Donald Trump's pardoned criminals has been arrested. He has now been charged with new crimes. Before I share all these details, though, please do me a big favor. Please hit the subscribe button below this video. It is free for you. It's a huge, huge help to the show. So I really appreciate it. As always, huge shout out as well. And a thank you to everyone who helps to keep the show going with donations. So here is the deal. And this is a January 6er you're definitely going to remember. 33-year-old Virginia resident Zachary Alam. And then we all saw, it was also captured on video, how that whole thing ended. And Alam showed consciousness of guilt after January 6th because when the authorities finally caught up with him in a hotel in a completely different state, one that he does not live in, they found a journal where he had written down a full plan that he was going to dispose of evidence. He was going to get a burner phone, or I think he had already gotten a burner phone. He had planned to flee the country, and he was taking steps to conceal his identity. So Alam was obviously aware he had done something wrong that day. He now allegedly participated in a home invasion. This took place on May 9th. He was arrested again because of this. So the police say he entered a home. He went in through the back door. The owners caught him and they confronted him. And basically he took off, but he had stolen items. So he took off with items that he stole from their house. He was luckily apprehended that same night. They caught him in a nearby neighborhood. He has now been charged with felony residential burglary and misdemeanor vandalism. And, given his history, given his recent pardon, I would imagine it's not going to go too great for him. I would imagine that the judge will give him a pretty serious jail sentence if he's convicted. So.
Well, there you have it, folks. And thanks to Gina Bonanno for that reporting. But yeah, there's been several of these cases where pardoned J6ers get jammed up for committing additional crimes. I think one of them was even shot during a traffic stop. Yeah. So anyway, hope you guys like my new green screen. I can have more fun with my background and my graphics and things. I'm gonna try to figure out how to do some better editing inside of CapCut because I've been using Caden Live. So we'll see. Hopefully I can get some better quality video for you guys. better thumbnails too. All right. Thanks. Like, share, subscribe, all that goodness. All right. Peace out.